Welcome to the Starry-Eyed Effect. I'm Brendan.
And I'm Jen. On this podcast, we'll be chatting about all things Williams syndrome.
Ups and downs, and what it's like living with Williams syndrome.
We're excited to share our community with you. Thanks for being here.
What an absolute jerk, because he can just launch hearts out whenever he wants. So it's a great show. This is going to be a great show, I think. I really like both of our guests a lot.
The tale of two Alexes.
The tale of two Alex. Well,
or is it Alex? The tale of two Alex, like singular. Like, is it, what's the plural?
Alex, the tale of Alex and Alexandra.
Oh, there you go.
That works. Yeah. It was great show. Super guests. They're people that. Well, Alex is somebody I've wanted you guys to meet and talk to for a while. So I'm really happy that we're finally able to make it happen. Even though because her appointment ran long, we had to do it in the car. But I think it still was really great. And and Alexandra, wow, that she was super cool. I liked her a lot.
She was spot on. Yeah, she's really cool.
And I love, well, she's very well spoken, and I love her background. Obviously, it's like something that I can identify with, but I think a lot of people in the Williams syndrome community, maybe if they don't dance formally, like they dance informally, and that's probably something that, is very connecting and grounding for them. So I enjoyed meeting her. She was fun to chat with. And just another successful adult being out in the world doing great things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, why don't we just get right to it? We'll just pop right into the interview. What do you guys say?
Yes, let's go.
Let's go. Heart hands, except for Brendan. He's gonna. What a jerk! What an absolute turd blossom.
It's a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that you're the only one with hearts. You're the only one who can open the show. Very VIP.
Love you guys.
We just need you.
Love you guys.
And now you can start. I missed you, and I can't do it without you. So start the show.
All right. Well, let's get into it, shall we? Hi, Alexandra. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So for those that may not know who you are, why don't you tell everybody who you are and a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right. So my name is Alexandra. I am 30 years old and I live in the beautiful state of Utah. I am a dance teacher and I do bracelet. I'm a bracelet artist, and I'm also a cat mama, and I have 3 cats, and they're awesome. And I have a lot of siblings. I have 9. I have 4 biological and 4 step. So yeah, it's great. I mean, I love Utah. I love living here. It's beautiful here. I've been dancing since I was 3 years old. And so, yeah, I've been dancing for a long time. And 2 years ago, got approved to teach dance. So I'm very happy about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I guess you call me technically, I'm a dance mom, meaning kids that dance. So my daughter Stella, who has Williams syndrome, dances, and so does my other daughter. But I also am a mom that dances. I'm in a mom's hip hop dance group, and it's so fun. So I love dance too, and so we have a lot to talk about. So you're teaching at a studio?
Yes. So here at my beautiful home, we have a dance studio in the garage.
Okay.
And my mom teaches classes as well as me, and she and I co-teach with each other.
That's awesome.
It's awesome. I love it.
What's your preferred dance style?
Well, I have done everything from ballroom to Polynesian dancing to ballet to clogging to tap, but I really love freestyle. I'm a I love freestyling. I'm a soloist. And so obviously we all know that people with Bloom syndrome have a hard time concentrating in some way, shape, or form. So for me, having being in a group sometimes can be very intimidating because you got to be in certain spots at certain times. And for some reason, I am better at soloing. And yeah, so
your preferred, you like to be like a soloist, like having your own performance, just worrying about yourself, not like what everybody else.
because me and my mom always clash when we make choreography for our dance classes because she sees the choreography differently than I do.
Okay.
All right.
So it's like I see it differently, she sees it differently, but honestly, we compromise. We compromise when we put choreography together, and it works out perfectly.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's super cool. And choreography, I think, is for some people it's really easy to learn, but for some people it's not. It's like you're either a freestyler or you're a person who can pick up choreography fast. I'm the freestyler. I can freestyle dance, but picking up choreography is really hard for me. So I think that's amazing. How many students do you teach?
So spreading out the word about the dance that I teach, which is belly dancing.
Okay.
My mom teaches belly dancing. I teach belly dancing. Not to say that I'm Egyptian or anything, which I'm not. Knowing that it comes from there. So I teach people with special needs, just like me. I teach teenagers. I've taught adults, and so far I got 2 new students as of yesterday, so I'm super excited for that. And basically what I do is I break down dance steps all the way to the very beginning level so that they can, learn how to do it step by step from the tap, step, tap, tap to the add-on. We slowly add on to the move until they get it, and then we do warm up, we do drills, and then I teach them a part of the dance. And I make it as simple as possible because not everybody is gonna get all the steps and
That's me. I am flat-footed as a pancake and can't dance to save my life. So
You can't dance? You're not a dancer.
I'm not good at it. Let's put it that way.
Okay. So Alexandra, how old were you when you were diagnosed with your Williams syndrome?
I was 18 months old.
Okay. Tell us about that.
Okay, so when I was born 2 weeks late, my weight was kind of a lot lower than most babies at 2 weeks later than their due date.
Okay.
And my parents believed that I was this normal, happy little baby. And so my parents took me to this checkup with the doctor, and my mom's telling them, she's not digesting food right, and she keeps on, it's not staying down.
Yeah.
And then they did some tests on me, and they're like, yeah, something's not right here. My parents were like, what? So they did all these tests on me. And they did the fish test.
Okay.
And they found it out. And my parents, of course, were very shocked.
Yeah.
Because as we all know, Williams syndrome is very rare. Mm-hmm. And not many people know about it. So of course, my parents had a lot of worries for my future. Here's the cool part about this, because we were flying back to Utah from California. There's this lady that noticed me in the stroller, and she looks at my mom and she says, "Hey, does your daughter have Williams syndrome?" And my parents are like, that's what the doctor says she has. And so this lady like literally hooked us up with all of the therapy, all of these awesome doctors. And yeah, so
that's what's up.
That's amazing. Are you from Utah originally?
I was born in California, in Anaheim.
In Anaheim. Okay. And then how old were you when you moved to Utah?
I think a year or a year and a half.
Okay. Okay. So right around the time that you would have been diagnosed with Williams syndrome, you had moved to Utah.
Yes.
Yeah. So having that connection, I'm sure, was really important to get you some services and the resources that you needed. How was growing up in Utah? Were you like in a community with people who had disabilities? Were you?
So yeah, there wasn't, like when I was younger, I did meet one person with it. Her name is Ashley Carroll. Love you, sis.
Shout out, Carol.
Yeah. She and I became friends when we were very young. And growing up, I met other families with kids with Williams syndrome. And we would have get-togethers. And while I played with the other kids, my mom and dad and all of the other parents, they would talk about, you know, their like all the medical stuff that's going on with their kids and trying to find comparison, you know, like see what's the same and see what other things they could help each other with us. So it was really nice. It was very nice having, you know, getting to know people like me, because when I was younger, I thought that I was the only one. Mm-hmm. And I felt, you know, so distant from the kids in school. Like I was like, what is going on?
Yep.
Why am I not getting the memo here? Like they're having friends and I'm just like, we're friends. Like I want friends, you know, and just all of that longing to know, you know, like, why am I different? Because I didn't really know about my condition until later, like when I was like 5 or something, I think it was. And my parents kind of told me about it in a way that I would understand. And it took me a long time to accept, you know, like me, to accept myself as a kid. And of course, my neighbors were totally sweet, awesome, nice. It was at school where the bullying started and the uncomfortable, weird feeling of being amongst people who didn't have my condition and didn't understand. Yeah. You know, and I'm sure a lot of parents with people with special needs can totally relate, because, you know, it just was so hard to, you know, to say hi to people and then for them to walk away from me. Like, what did I do? All I did was say hi. Yeah. You know? And just, I don't know. There are times when I'm just like, I don't want to go to school, because if this is the way I'm going to be treated, then I don't want to be there. You know?
Yeah. And I think I hear that a lot. I think in general, well, I shouldn't say I hear it a lot. I mean, it's just a common theme that they do hear from people with Williams syndrome, is it seems like getting into middle school and high school, there's a lot of bullying that happens. And that's stressful. That's hard to deal with when you're already dealing with so many things, right? Yeah. Did you have any like severe health problems, or how has like that side of your journey been?
So junior high and elementary school were the worst, because like the teachers didn't know how to handle me.
Yep.
They didn't know how to help me. Yep. And they didn't know how to like get me in the same direction as the other students. Yes. And so it was difficult for them, and it was difficult for me, because me being able to concentrate was so hard on like different subjects. Like I think math was the worst. Yep. Because math can be very intimidating sometimes when you have 100 questions on a piece of paper. Yeah. Yeah. And you ask the teacher to accommodate for you, and, you know, and but high school was the best 3 years ever. Like, yeah, I experienced no bullying, no, like, oh, look at her, she's weird. Like, I never got that vibe. I felt so comfortable in my own skin in high school. Like, people were so nice, and of course they had their groups or whatever, but I always felt accepted by everybody. I don't know about you, Brandon, but did you have life skills in high school and whatnot?
Yeah, I did, but I had the complete opposite experience. I was bullied. I was labeled the class retard. I lost 25 pounds due to stress. I dropped out, moved out of state, went to a post-secondary school for kids with special needs. Yeah, it was for music and yeah, it was pretty rough.
Oh man, I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, I mean it's in the past, but you know,
Yeah, in the
at the
past,
time it was pretty rough, but we're here now and we're
yeah,
thriving. So
exactly. And I want to say to any teenager or little kid with any special needs that is being bullied or is being treated differently, that you're not alone. There are
yeah,
plenty of us out there that know what it's like to be in that position and to feel displacement and hurt. I know that feeling, and I know that you know that feeling. And
yeah,
especially to all parents who have had these experiences where your kids have been bullied, I know the pain, and I am here for anyone who has been bullied and anyone who has been treated differently. And you're not alone, you're not forgotten. You know, we stand by you. And if you need someone to tell those bullies what's up, you know, you got me, you got Brandon, you got all these amazing people that are here to fight for you. So, yeah.
That's absolutely true. So dance, you said, was kind of always a part of your life. Your mom grew up dancing too?
Yeah, she did ballet, she was in cheerleading, and she did jazz.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so dance always like a part, like your outlet, or
Yeah.
did you have other interests when you were growing up?
Yes, dance, anything with music. It's a lot of people with Williams syndrome just have this thing with music. They just love
yep.
it. It's like a bowl of soup. You drink, you get all the soup in, and then you're just like, wait a minute, I want more. I'm not full yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How we feel about music and movement was so important for me because I had stiff joints as a little kid.
Okay.
And therapy was very painful considering my ankles were lifted almost to the back part of my leg.
Oh.
So I had to have, I wouldn't say force, but just like, trying to get my heels to unlock
Yes.
from the stiffness and the pain. So I couldn't handle it anymore. And I was just like, I can't do this. It hurts so bad. And so they were like, therapy or something else. And my mom's like, let's put her in dance. And I was literal, I would watch my mom dance and I would be like, oh my gosh, I want to dance. Like, I want to be able to move across the stage and glide, and just feel free, because that's where I release a lot of my stress, my worries, that's where I feel mostly free, is on the dance floor. And thanks to my mom, who fought for me, who put me in every dance class she could to help me feel confident and feel, like I had it, and I just needed to believe in myself, and dance helped me believe that anything is possible. And in junior high and in high school and in elementary school, I was always in some sort of dance class, and it helped me with my strengthening of my legs, to my arms, to everything. And it just made me so happy. And ever since then, I've never stopped. I've always been in some sort of dance class, or I'm taking my mom's dance class, or, it's just an amazing feeling. And I can't imagine my life without dance.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I have a dance background as well. And maybe a couple months ago, I heard when my daughter went to a dance convention, and one of the instructors was talking about how dance is for everybody, right? And it is truly like such an inclusive practice, and there's many forms of dance that people can partake in. So if like one doesn't work for you, maybe another one does. Like that's what I always say about hip hop. Like hip hop is more forgiving, so I can do it because I don't have to be as crisp with the movements. Whereas, you know, I mean, if you had me in a tap class, I probably couldn't move my feet in the way that you need to move your feet, but other people can. And it is, I think, such a great, for my daughter who has Williams syndrome, it's such a great pairing of activities. So it's the musical piece that she really likes, and then it's combined with the part she doesn't like, which is the exercise part, like the physicality part, because you said it's hard and it can be hard for you, but it's so important to move your body in whatever way works for you. And so I'm just thrilled that she loves it. And I think it's great for you too. So did most of your family dance, or is it just you and your mom?
Yeah, so my family is full of musicians, dancers, singers, and all of these things. And yeah, every family reunion, there's always a dance party. Every, family get together, there's always a dance party. It's great. I love it.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. So does your family live close then? Everybody live close to each other?
Yeah. So yeah, almost all of my aunts and uncles and cousins live here in Utah. Some of them live far away, as far as Iowa and Kentucky, but yeah, a lot of us live here, and we are a tight-knit family. Love sports, dance, music, arts, the whole thing. And it's just wonderful to be able to have that experience with my family. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. What is like life now, like as an adult? You said you're 30, right?
Yes.
Oh, you're so young. So young. So you went through high school. High school was good. How about like adulthood? How has that transition been? And now you're 10 years in, so it's probably you're more settled, right? Like you feel more comfortable with it. Do you remember how it was?
Huh? Sorry.
Do you remember how it was when you first like graduated high school? And
gosh, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm done with high school? Like, I didn't want it to end. I wanted to do more because, I don't know, the atmosphere was just so great. And I loved all my teachers. Bless them. They dealt with me as good as they could. And I just felt so accomplished. Like, I felt like, man, I did science. I did all the science packets, the history packets, the English, the math, everything. And I'm like, wow, I did that.
Yeah.
I did it. And I didn't graduate with a diploma, but a certificate of completion, I consider that to still be as pretty good.
That's a win.
That's a win. Yeah. Did you work after high school, or did you go right into dance?
I worked at Trafalgar, which was a miniature golf place in Utah. 6 months after, I had to get a new job because they shut down, because it was a very old place. So they had to shut down. And then I worked at Smith's Marketplace, and I did a lot of the stocking and putting take backs and all of that stuff. And it was hard. I mean, just because, you're like, oh, yay, work. I get a job. I get to get money, like it was hard, especially for me to fit in, like, because of the limitations I had, I could only do so much. I don't know if do you have Social Security?
I do. Yeah. So we know all about that stuff. My mom's a paralegal and deals with Social Security, and she specializes in elderly and disability law. So she's helped me out a lot with all the Social Security stuff.
Yeah, same with my mom. My mom is always on top of it, whether it's filling out a billing papers or stuff. She's great with that. And yeah, so having a part-time job is nice, but I always have this feeling like I want to do more. I want to, I have these skills, yes, but I have more skills that I can show you if you just let me learn. I love learning. Whether it's learning about different cultures or different skills or, a different type of dance. Like, I love learning. And so, yeah, like I had Smith's. I even worked at this skating rink called Classic Skating. Okay. well-known hotspot for hangouts and parties. And yeah, I worked there for a year and a half. It was a great job. And then COVID hit.
Oh yeah.
And that was a
surprise. Yeah.
It was something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was insane. Like, how am I going to find a job with all this craziness,
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people felt that way too, because a lot of places were closed and everything. And then I served a church service mission. Yeah. And it was.
You stay in town or did you go somewhere else?
I stayed in town actually. So I was able to walk to the facility and walk home. So it was very nice. I learned a ton of skills there that you don't learn in high school or, in a lot of places. And, but before that and before COVID hit, I actually went to this post-high school called ATEC.
Okay.
And they teach adults with special needs a lot more skills than just math and English and everything. They teach you how to do laundry, cooking. They teach you friendship zones, and how to be careful with strangers and how to use the city bus. And, they just talk so much. And because of that, I've been able to get jobs. I've been able to feel successful and feel validated that I am, worth the work and the time and the energy. And it has been such an amazing thing. Like, I've been able to do so much since I've graduated. I've performed all over the state. I performed in front of David Archuleta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In fact, during that time, I was in a Polynesian dance school.
Okay.
And Big Buddha, out of all people, called my dance teacher and was like, hey, can you come and perform for David Archuleta and David Cook? And of course, I was like, what? And so I've gotten to perform in front of a lot of people, and I've been able to actually speak at schools about, special needs awareness and how important it is to know about that, not only as like us, but in the work communities. I don't think people really realize, the special needs attribution to work.
Yeah.
A lot of special needs people have their own jobs now.
Mm-hmm.
And have their own businesses, and
they have money to spend, right? Like, you guys have money that you want to spend at places, and so you want to be represented in
and we want to be seen in a good light, not, oh, this person is special needs, they can't do anything, and
can't do everything and anything.
Yes. And I want people to know that we're not, less than because we are special needs. We're more than, and we need to see that in us too. It's not only the people around it. It's like, we need to see in ourselves that we are capable of so many things, and we shouldn't let our limitations limit us because, we think we're not good enough, or we're not, people think we're not good enough. We should, it's come to the point now where, think of it, in the 1800s and even hundreds and hundreds of years before that, people like us were hidden from the world, or we were treated terribly. And, we weren't allowed to be out in the world because the parents or the caregiver was so afraid that people would hurt them or use them in bad ways. And now that we are seen in a different light in some sort of way, I think it has been better for us now than it would have been
years ago.
Literally. I mean, man, and if I could go to that time and, spread the understanding, I think it wouldn't have been as cruel or as dark as it would have been. I
believe.
I really do think.
For sure.
Yeah, I think that disability has come, as a movement, has come so far in, just our respective lifetimes, right? Like it really wasn't until the 1990s that the Americans with Disabilities Act was signed. And, like not that long ago when people with disabilities were able to go to public school. And it's so important. I think for my daughter, Stella, who's 13, she's in 7th grade, I think about how important it is for her community to know who she is and to have experience working with people with disabilities or being around people with disabilities, because
Yes.
I didn't grow up with that. There were people that had disabilities, but they were in like a separate part of the school. I didn't ever see them like on our bus. I never saw them in my extracurricular activities I did. I never saw them. Oops, I just dropped my phone. I never saw them, in my job. And I wish that I would have had that, because now as a parent of a person with a disability, I feel like that would have given me so many tools in my toolbox to be prepared for this journey. And so I really think that, societally speaking, we've done a disservice by sheltering that, because once you open that door, there's a lot there, but there's a lot of beautiful stuff like you were saying. And I feel like Stella deserves to live her best life, and so do you all too.
Yeah, exactly. And I definitely have had a great life. My parents have been so supportive. I've got a lot of family and friends that have been there for me and who have embraced me as their own and have given me a chance to live the best life I can. And some parents think that it's too scary to get their child diagnosed. As long as you tell your child to keep their head held up high and remember who they are, that they're your child and that you love them and that they don't need to be afraid to get out there and show the world what they got. And if you continue to do that, they will believe it. They will believe it. And my mom told me that every single day. She told me, keep your head held high, remember who you are, remember you are my daughter and that you're a daughter of God, and remember that you're special and that no one can take that away from you. And I believed it, and then when I went, but it was hard to believe it in a school setting.
Yeah.
A work setting, and my mom just kept on reminding me. And then, you know what? I'm going to accept it. I was just like, okay, I am her daughter and she loves me and she cares about me. And, I'm going to let my colors shine and let my light shine. And ever since then, I have made that my motto, to keep your head held high, remember who you are, and don't let anything stand in your way of becoming a great person and becoming and putting your mark on the world. And people will see your great works, and who knows what will happen. I feel like fear is the biggest distraction besides putting something aside, and not believing in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, how can you believe in something else and, expand your belief?
All right. Well, hello, Alex. How are you?
I'm doing well. Brendan, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's snowing outside currently here in Connecticut, so it's getting some of the white fluffy stuff.
Well, I'm in Ohio, so we are experiencing the same thing.
Yep. So for those that don't know who you are, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and about your journey and what you do?
Awesome. So I am Alex. I live in Ohio with my husband, Joe. We have a 5-year-old daughter named Collins. And then we have Jax, who is 20 months. He'll be 21 months here pretty soon. So we are also rounding up, and we are saying that he's almost 2 now. And just for a little blurb, there's the big guy back there drinking his bottle. But yeah, so our journey was a little, very fast paced, I would say. We actually were fortunate to find out about Jax and his diagnosis when he was just 3 months old. Because when I had Jax, we had some medical complications that led us to just kind of discovering down a rabbit hole. He had some pretty severe cardiac issues that they needed to get addressed. And at the time, we did not realize that those cardiac issues would align us into the world of Williams syndrome. But we have an incredible cardiologist in Ohio here. And when we went in, when Jax was 2 weeks old, to get his heart, the echocardiogram, the cardiologist had kind of asked us if we were okay with heading over to the genetics office, because he knew that Jax was going to have open heart surgery very quickly, and they needed to find out if he had Williams syndrome. I'm sure you guys have chatted about this in the past, but for our listeners that don't know, anesthesia can be a little bit tricky for individuals with Williams syndrome. And so for Jax to undergo such a major surgery, especially as little as he was, they wanted to know, like, right off the bat, we need to know if he has Williams syndrome or not before we undertake like such a massive surgery, because, he was only 5 pounds, and there was a lot of chaos. So it went from he was born to we have to have these surgeries. And then Jax ended up having around 4 or 5 surgeries before he even turned 1. So we got the news about the Williams syndrome diagnosis extremely, extremely soon, because of the fact that he was undergoing anesthesia so much at such a young age. So he got diagnosed when he was 3 months old. And now he is, like I said, almost 2, and he is absolutely thriving. And just like my husband and I, we actually just left an appointment at the Williams Syndrome Clinic in Columbus, Ohio this morning. And, it was funny, we both said on the way home, it's so funny how a diagnosis can feel so overwhelming at the time. And now it's like, I couldn't even it's just second nature to us now. Like, you couldn't even imagine, somebody not have, like, when somebody, like with him, it just feels like that's who he was always meant to be. So we're just surviving. Yeah. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind, but I'm the kind of person, I like to throw myself into things. So the second we found out he was having these surgeries and his diagnosis, we really just ran with it, and we've immersed ourselves in this amazing family.
Yeah, I had 4 hernia surgeries before the age of 2, and I wasn't diagnosed until I was almost 13. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, and I had my wisdom teeth out only on Novocaine. So that, yeah. It was
you're tough. You're braver than I am.
Alex,
So,
were you based out of Ohio before this?
Yes. Yeah, we have always lived, we're actually pretty fortunate. We live outside of Canton, Ohio, in a town called Louisville. And so we actually, we have always utilized Akron Children's Hospital. So that's who we use a lot. But the whole benefit today of going to Columbus was we're super fortunate. Obviously, the Williams syndrome clinics aren't, as readily available as we would love them to be. So, with a lot of insight and kind of just, some suggestions, even from the Akron Children's team, they're like, you're so fortunate to have people so close. Just go and talk to people that are super knowledgeable about it. And so that was a huge game changer. So I would suggest anybody if they go, I wholeheartedly think it's a great resource and a great tool.
Yeah. We actually have not been to a Williams syndrome clinic before because we live in Colorado. So like nobody in this like part of the country like knows a thing about Williams syndrome. So I do think you're fortunate that you guys are, and probably helped you with the early diagnosis, being so connected in the community that was well-versed on Williams syndrome. Is this our first time at the clinic, or have you been a time before?
No, this was our first time at the clinic. The wait list, there is obviously a decent wait list because there are people coming from everywhere for it. And they only do things on certain days. They have a whole time and reason for their stuff. But Yes, it was our first time there today. It was a comprehensive evaluation. I will say everything you just said, Jen, is so true. Like, we are very fortunate where we live. Like, we're really well connected because of the knowledge of Williams syndrome in this area. It seems like, he immediately started physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, every ologist that, you could even imagine, as we've dotted our I's, crossed our T's, like done the whole thing. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a journey. It's been, a lot of undertaking, but as everybody, in this world knows, it's just all for the benefit of everybody involved though, so it's like today was super beneficial. Everyone is super knowledgeable, but also at the same time, like I would say that even in Akron, we're it's a great part of the area just to get as much information. And if you're someone like me, like once you heard those words, yes, he has Williams syndrome, I was like, I could not get enough research information, contacting people. I jumped right in, connected with Joel, and the Williams Syndrome Association. And a huge shout out to everyone. This podcast, but even anyone and everyone at the WSA, because if you are newly diagnosed, this is truly the hub of the best information that anybody could get. So,
yeah, absolutely. And even now, Stella's 13 and I'm still using information, right? Like she has a new psychiatrist that we met the other day. And so I'm like hitting him with all the information. And it's not because I'm smart enough to know it. It's because I have this network behind me that's providing me all the information, that's giving me the confidence to advocate for her. So you're right. We are very fortunate to be in such a good good community of people. So you are, because Jax is now 20 months. So you are still in the you're in the new stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So you said he's had 4 surgeries in a year. What is that looking like now? Are you more into the therapies and such, or are you still navigating some like real challenging health concerns?
So, and kind of like, I'm going to answer this and then throw a couple questions back at you, if that's okay, because I think this is interesting, because with Stella being 13, but Jax being new, of course, I'm looking to you being like, help me. What does this look like? What does that look like? Kind of a thing. Medically, any type of like emergency situation? No, I think health-wise, we're doing pretty good. We keep up with cardiology all the time. And the one thing that's getting more challenging the older he gets are the constant, I will say he definitely has a lot of anxiety now with doctor's offices that he did not have before. Like when he was so young and was going all the time, he was still so young, if that and he didn't even know things for patients. So it does get trickier, but we are doing our best. And his last echo, came back with flying colors. They're really happy. As we all know in this world, when you're that little and you have the kinds of surgeries that some of our kids have, there's no guarantee how long, when the next time's going to be. And, so you're always kind of, there are definitely those moments of feeling like waiting for the other shoe to drop. But right now we are doing great. Health-wise, some of the challenges I would say, and I'm kind of like throw this back and see like what your experiences have been, but now that we kind of are in the clear when it comes to like physical health concerns, like anything with the heart, his hernia, things like that, all those are handled. We're starting to notice some more behavioral type things are popping up. Like, I would like to say his lack of sleep. Like we had a huge issue with sleep issues. I was starting to think, I thought to myself, like, are we just never, we're just never sleeping again? Like, okay, we're just never doing that again. And, we did do the sleep study. And he was lots of moving and grooving, in his sleep, low iron, and it's incredible. That's another awesome resource though. It's like when you start asking the harder questions that people, sometimes just don't want to ask, it's funny how things get connected, and with the sleep issues, it was like, well, he wasn't sleeping. And everyone just kind of kept saying, oh, he'll grow out of it. Don't ever tell me that as a person, because I'm like, nope, I'm going to find out why, because there has to reason. And so I'm curious, like with Stella, like how did that look for you when she was a baby? And because when was Stella diagnosed? I can't remember.
She was diagnosed at 5.
Okay.
And she's our, I have to also preface by saying she's our first child. So like, I had no benchmark for what I thought it was normal. I thought everything was, and so I was like, damn, you're like not very good at sleeping, but I thought all babies weren't good at sleeping. And I thought a lot of the issues, like now in retrospect, I'm like, oh, okay, all those were clearly issues, but I had no idea. So I'll be interested to hear what Brendan says about this, but Stella was a terrible sleeper. We just co-slept, like, because I was like, I have to sleep. So you sleeping next to me, if that is what it's going to take. We tried all the things, and none of it worked. So I was like, just come on in. And that actually, until she got on, so like you'll probably see this, behaviors will continue and they will start to escalate in intensity. It really wasn't until the point where we put her on some medication that she started sleeping. And like now she's a great sleeper. Now she'll be like, I'm tired, I'm going to bed. And I'm like, great. But it was, and so it would have been 6 that she to 6 that we really struggled with sleeping. Brendan, were you a good sleeper?
Absolutely not.
I think your mom said you were not a good sleeper.
Nope. I had insomnia. It was
It'll have its own chapter in the blog.
It'll have its own chapter in the blog.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to reading that.
The struggle bus was real when it came to sleeping, to put it lightly. But now that I'm older, I've gotten better. I grew out of my insomnia. I just really started to relax and then not stress so much and stay up all night overthinking about everything, every little thing. And that's when I noticed oh, okay, I'm starting to sleep better. Now I'm getting 7-8 hours of sleep per night. It's consistent, so it's much better than it was. I'll put it that way.
So right now you're seeing you've got to handle you for on the medical stuff. And now he's so little, right? 2, you're just supposed to be cute. That's
I know. And that's, I would say that's probably one of the most challenging parts about our current situation is, this is what I've kind of said, getting a little vulnerable here, but I think it's good because, for parents in these similar situations, maybe that, are just now in a situation I was in a year and a half ago is I never got to have Jax be just Jax, if that makes sense. When Jax came out of the womb, with a whole slew of problems. And I never got to know Jax without, all of this stuff. And then he had Williams syndrome. And then it was Jax with Williams syndrome. And at the time, I think that was really hard because I was grieving the loss of what I thought, he was going to be. But now, like I said, in just a short time and only a year and a half, he's not even 2 years old yet. This is exactly the life that I was supposed to have. This is exactly the kid that I was meant to have. I even take it as far as this is the little brother that my daughter was always supposed to have. So it really is such a blessing, even if it feels overwhelming at the time. And I think right now, while he is so little and he is so cute, it can be very challenging because babies in general are challenging. You don't know what they want sometimes. They ramble and they cry, but to have a child that has, additional needs and wants on top of all of that, and you're trying to make sense. It's sometimes we're trying to read a book in a different language that we don't speak, and you're trying to make the most out of it. And you're also still trying to be parents and spouses and friends and daughters, and now you're wearing all of these hats, but you feel like everything just got tilted on its axis. And some days that can feel really good and rewarding, and then other days it can feel like you just want to hide out, and right now, like I kind of talked about the feeling of you're almost waiting for the other shoe to drop when things are going really well. But if anything, it's not the other shoe. It's just everything's always evolving in a different way. Like right now, medically, he has a good grasp on things, but like, now we're coming into some behavioral issues like stranger danger or the lack thereof. He wants the high school waiter at Texas Roadhouse to hold him. And we're like, he can't hold you, buddy. Like, we're dealing with some behavioral issues. We're dealing with some delays developmentally that are causing some feeding issues. And living in this world is just accepting grace for yourself and knowing that everything is connected and it will come just in its own time. So that's kind of where we are with Jax right now.
I'd be curious to hear from you, like how it's changed your family dynamic, though. Like,
yes.
Are you working? Were you working? Are you not working now? How is it with your daughter? And I think you said she's 5, so she's
5.
Yeah, teeny.
Yeah.
Because that is a huge change for the family.
It is.
Share with us how that's been for you guys.
Yeah. So I would say that to go back to the easy question, I was working. I worked in higher education. So I worked for nonprofit universities. I've done enrollment management. So that was kind of my bread and butter. That's where, I spent 10 years of my life. And then unrelated, but like when I was pregnant with Jax, they were calling it a high risk pregnancy because he was so tiny and he wasn't developing like they had anticipated. So I was starting to have a really, really unique pregnancy experience. I was having to go to doctor's appointments all the time. And when he came out and he had all those problems, I was like, you know what, I need to take a step back. And my work was really good about it and supportive. And then fast forward a few months later, I was like, you know what, he needs my full attention right now. I've got to be done. So I don't work anymore. And that was a conscious decision for Jax, for our family. And, I gave that up. But again, coming onto a podcast, what's the point of being on them if you're not going to be raw and vulnerable and open? So the reality is that was tough for me at first because I felt like, okay, look at this entire shift of my life. I'm losing a bit of an identity, I'm losing my career, I'm getting rid of my career. I'm a mom now and I have this new baby and, to watch them take a 3 or 4 month old baby away on a stretcher and to put him on BiPAP, and open heart surgery. And you're having conversations that you're on one hand thinking, I can't believe I'm having this conversation with the doctor. This baby is 3 months old. But then on the other hand, you're mad. You're like, why? This isn't fair, But I will say that how it's changed our family is like a roller coaster. We've had times where it's really brought us together. We've had times where it's felt you feel that mom guilt, especially, that when you have a child that maybe needs a little bit more than the other. And our daughter was 3.5 when he was born. So that was a tough age for him to come in and need what he needed because she was old enough to understand and not old enough to stand all at the exact same time. That's what I had made the comment earlier. She was always meant to be like his big sister because I've never known, I'm going to give her a lot of credit because I'm to be at 3.5, she just went with it. She didn't question it. If she had to go to her grandparents' house for a week or two, she never laid guilt on. She was never like, no, I don't want you to go. She just was like, Jax has to go to the hospital. She was so matter of fact. She's very gentle with him. But she also, the amazing thing about kids are she also doesn't think twice about stealing his toys either. She doesn't, to her, Jax is just Jax. We did go through, this is kind of comical. We went through a little phase though that she said she had Williams syndrome too. And she was telling people that she also had Williams syndrome. I was trying to explain to her one night. I was like, no, honey, you don't have Williams syndrome. Jax does. And she goes, I can have Williams syndrome if I want to have Williams syndrome. So I just kind of let her think it for a little while. but we've taken, as a family, we've jumped in, like we did the Williams syndrome walk. We kind of helped with that. Shout out to Julie and Katie in Ohio that did the walk for us in Medina. They are incredible, and they've also been a great resource for me as a parent. But we really jumped right in, and as a family, we got to go and we got to make friends, and we got to meet with people. And I think that this is a really, like, as a family unit, even during the hard times, we've gotten to grow together. It's not easy. I don't think anyone in this situation would ever tell you it's easy. But I think taking anything away from it is no one understands what you're going through better than the people in your immediate family. So you also have that bond and you rely on that person too, because while people can empathize, no one actually knows what you're going through the way you do. So it's been a journey. It's been a lot in a short amount of time, but I do feel like we're kind of getting to the light at the end of the tunnel. So
yeah, you probably haven't heard it yet, and I don't know exactly what it is again, because I came in sort of in arrears, but
okay.
I hear that there's like a lot of challenge in like infanthood, right? And like the early baby years. Then you get into like the sweet spot and like the stability of those kind of toddlerish years and school age years. And then sort of now I'm on the other side where it's like, now we're into like middle school, and that's bringing on like a whole slew of other challenges like puberty and school and transition. Like, what does Still's life going to look like after school? And so we're kind of on that other side now. But it was nice, like those few years where I felt like it was pretty like smooth.
Yeah.
So I hope you enjoy those. But you are kind of working, so you are doing. Tell us about yoga and tell us what you've been doing. You've got an event coming up that I want to touch on. And like, how did that? Like, obviously, I know how that happened for you, because you were like, I'm dying inside. I need to go find. Some, like, relaxation. So is that right?
Yeah.
Is that what you did? You just walked into the studio?
Yes, kind of, very, very similar. So I had done yoga for a long time. And during COVID, actually, there wasn't a lot going on. And my best friend actually owns a yoga studio in the town we were living in. So I was like, you know what? I'd been tossing around the idea for a very long time. I thought, it's COVID, everything. I do have a child, so I like can't, dream world, hop a plane to like Costa Rica and do like a month-long, yoga teacher training. That was not the luxury I was afforded at that point in my life. But they were, during COVID, they started offering like online teacher trainings. So I, with the help of my friend who owned the studio, like I did it online, but also like with her in her studio. And so I got trained in yoga, and I had finished right when I found out I was pregnant with Jax. So I was teaching and doing yoga throughout my whole pregnancy. And then I had to take some time off, but we live in a small town, and it's very, very community based. And word travels fast, so of course, like, talk of the town, Alex had a baby, the baby's in NICU. Oh my gosh, the baby has to have open heart surgery. Oh my gosh, he has Williams syndrome. How can we help? And everyone's rallying around, and like, and I wanted to give back too, because as somebody that has experience in like nonprofits, all the universities I ever worked for were nonprofits. So I very much can attest to a grassroots effort, and knowing that you only get what you can pay for. No one's paying anything for you. So I understand wholeheartedly every little bit counts. So even if you can only raise $500, that's $500 that, that they didn't have before, that somebody didn't have before. Not every fundraiser can be a $25 million campaign, So I wanted to find a way to give back in a way that everybody had been like giving to us. And at this point, I was very aware of how rare Williams syndrome was, and how like the WSA was doing, like they do everything they can. They go above and beyond, but they can only do as much as, they can do.
Oh,
so so I thought, what, this community, like the engagement is strong right now, but like our story. So I decided to see if I could do a donation class And it just kind of really took off because anytime somebody hears like, okay, yoga, it's intimidating. So like, even if they couldn't sign up, like if the space was full, people still wanted to donate, and people were talking. People wanted to talk about Williams syndrome. People were like, oh, I can't make it to the class, but what is that? So it's a way to spread awareness. It's a way to raise funds. And it was just a really, really successful event. And it also helped me get really involved with anybody at WSA. That's kind of how I met, a lot of the people. We decided to have it go for a second go round, and actually the class is full already. So, we're feeling really good about it. And it's just a way, like in such a small town, it's just a nice way to really bring awareness to, other disabilities, especially because, we are looking down the pipeline, and Jax is going to go to school there. And as far as I have, I've asked around, and he's the only person that even some of the older teachers have said he actually might be like the first one with Williams syndrome. For me, it was a little selfish on the sense that like, I want to get the buzz going, you know what I mean? Because he may be the first, but he might not be the last. And I want, everything that we do as parents is for the benefit of our children. And so while it is great because we're benefiting the WSA, and I'm trying to raise funds because in the long run, any money that we can give to them will benefit all of us. It's a two-way relationship. I also just feel that, anytime you can bring Williams syndrome into a conversation in the right room, is going to do nothing but benefit Jax, benefit Stella, benefit you and I, benefit Brendan, and I just, anytime you can talk about it or raise money for it, even if it's $5, $500, $5,000, it's money they didn't have before for research that we didn't have yet. So that's kind of a little soapbox about my fundraiser. And it's not huge. I would like in the future to be able to get it so I could do it virtually so that we could have people, wherever join. So that's the goal for next year, is to get it so it can be virtual too. And I'm open to doing more. It's just, this is only my second year, but it's already a success on year 2. So hoping that we can get things going.
I love it. Yeah, no, I love it. I'm not a yogi because I have zero flexibility, but it's good for me. Are you going to convention this year?
Yes, we are all going. So
all going. It's going to be so exciting. It is so much fun, and you're going to learn a lot. It's going to be exhausting. Actually, for you, it's going to be exhausting. And then like year 2 will be like fun, and then it'll get more fun after that. But the first year is a lot going on. So maybe it's not the right time to ask you if you would like to host a yoga class.
I would.
You should. My kids, my daughters are in dance, and they do like when they go to conventions, they will have like a parent dance class where like the dance instructors will like teach us what they're teaching our kids, but like a mom version, right? So it's not as like it's not as hard. But I would love that. I love the idea of like doing something for parents and for, I guess, people with Williams syndrome, because a lot comes on a caregiver's plate, and we very frequently take care of ourselves. And like, I've learned through this experience, you probably have as well, that like, you have to put on like your life vest first and like give yourself oxygen mask before you can help anybody else. Right. So I love the idea of like sprinkling in some like self-care at convention or wherever people can. But I think you made a great point about fundraisers, right? Like that people always think like, well, I don't have the network or the resources to create a golf tournament or, a walk or something like that. But it can be a fundraiser at your local restaurant. It can be a yoga or some sort of like, CrossFit, like where you come and the class is free and you just donate the proceeds to Williams Syndrome Association. And all of those things are really designed to create a sense of community. And that's what you're doing for Jax. Like for Stella, I want people to know who Stella is in our community. I want them to feel comfortable interacting with her. I want, when it's time for her to go out and get a job, right? I want her to have a lot of different opportunities because she's connected, right? And not just get placed where her transitions people have connections. Right. I want the connections to be first and foremost. And so I think that the way that you're doing the fundraising effort, like it definitely gives people an opportunity to think a little bit differently about, you know, how you can contribute. Because like you said, every dollar matters, but then also think about it in the way of building community. And paying like long-term, you know, dividend or ROI for your child that, you know, like they can feel comfortable in a lot of spaces. Like Stella feels comfortable at school. Stella feels comfortable going to her dance studio. Stella feels comfortable doing neighborhood events, like in our community. She feels comfortable going to the pool. And, you know, as I think about her, she'll be 14 this next year, like giving her some independence, like, I have to feel comfortable knowing that it's like in a safe space where people know her and know, like, you know, some of the things that they can see that are just realities that come along with Williams syndrome. So I love it. When is your event?
I'm sorry, what?
When's your event?
Oh, my event is on February 4th. So we do an hour and 15 minutes. And it's funny because like, I don't even ask for silent auction items, but like, again, talking about building a community, building the buzz, you know, people will just like drop off a basket and I'll be like, what's this for? And they're like, oh, see if you can raffle that off, or, you know, even if you can get an extra $50. So, you know, people do want to be a part of something. You just have to give them the something to be a part of. So that's why I've just learned, you know, and people do want to help, especially when kids are involved. So February 4th in Louisville, we're very excited for it. And, you know, and like I said, next year, this is my announcement that I will try to make it virtual so we can do something really fun. And I will also do something at convention if they'll have me. So
yeah, that's wonderful. I heard you also have done some work with our Adventure Seekers group and like sharing some breathing strategies. Like I think you have a lot of applicability there because we have a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress in our group.
We did. And you know what? The whole group was incredible. They made it so easy for me. Everybody that was involved in it. But yeah, and you know, I'm happy to do that anytime for anybody. Honestly, it's everything that people already have in their toolbox. It's just a gentle reminder. You know what I mean? It's just like it's learning about breathing techniques that you already know to do. But like all things, you know, you have that instinct when you start feeling anxious to just shut down. And it's really just reminding yourself to like just stop, recognize where you are, you know, take some breaths, touch your fingertips, you know, gaze out the window and just, you know, find ways to naturally calm yourself down if you can. It was a good group. They made me look good, if I'm being honest. So
they're so fun. They're so fun. You get off, you do a like adventure seeker call and then you leave and you're like, my bucket is so full. Like I came to serve this group, right? And they ended up like in the odd ways like me. And I can't say enough good things about them. Well,
isn't that this whole community though? Like anytime I leave somewhere, I'm like, okay, wait, why am I on cloud 9 right now? Like that was incredible. So
I know. I'm excited to meet you at convention. It'll be a hot mess and you'll be overwhelmed, but I stay out until 10 p.m. So if you want to get a beer or something, like you find me and we will until 10.
Absolutely. 10 o'clock, you are a night owl. So
You've been listening to The Starry-Eyed Effect, presented by the Williams Syndrome Association. The show is hosted by Jennifer Keaton and Brendan Lemieux, and produced by me, Joel Listman. Theme song by Tommy Barbarella and Mariella Elm. Got a question for the show? Email us at podcast@williams-syndrome.org. Video version of the podcast available on the Williams Syndrome channel on YouTube. Review us on Apple Podcasts, and maybe it will get featured on a future episode. Make sure to like and subscribe to The Starry-Eyed Effect wherever you get your podcast delights.